Hey everybody, what's going on? Danny Koker here, AKA The Count. Want to talk to you right now about the episode that you just watched on history of counting cars. If you did not catch that episode, or if you're watching this here on the Counts Kustoms YouTube channel sometime later, look it up. It's the Kellison J6 Panther episode of Counting Cars on History. You're going to dig it. Great episode, great car, a lot of fun, and we'll tell you about it right now. I'm really excited about a car that we built on this last episode, and it's the 1962 Kellison J6 Panther. I love this car. You gotta understand, I found this car a long time ago. Found it a long time ago, somewhere I believe in the Midwest, more to the eastern portion of the Midwest. I think it was in Pennsylvania or something like that. I might have found it. And bought the car, shipped it here to my place in Vegas, and I put it on the shelf and knew I'd get around to it one of these days. And my wonderful friends over at Borla wanted a wicked car for the 2019 SEMA show. And I thought, you know what? It's time to bust out that Kellison. Ain't nobody seen that. But here's the deal on the Kellison. I wanted to do it completely different than you've seen other Kellisons done. First off, Kellisons are extremely rare. So most of you probably are not that familiar with them. For those of you that are familiar with them, you'll know that most of the Kellisons were done kind of like drag cars back in the day. They did run them on a drag strip a lot. They were done a lot very hot rodish, muscle car-ish type of a vibe, this and that. But every time I looked at this Kellison that I purchased, I kept seeing vintage European exotic. It just kept looking that way to me. It kept looking like something that should be what James Bond was driving back in the day. So that's what I went after when you see this episode. Really changed the car. When I first got the car, it was red, and it was very kind of muscle car vibed. The way the wheels and tires were on it, the way it sat, everything about it, you know. And it needed full restoration, but it was all there. It was really cool. Great car. So the challenge was changing this whole car up and building it in a really different fashion. That European vintage exotic, something possibly British, something that I want people to look at it and think, what is that, like an Aston Martin from the 60s or something like that? That's kind of what I wanted to go for with this car. So we went crazy, man. We really changed up the body on the car, and the changes are so subtle and they're so correct on the car that it looks like it came this way. So you're seeing very mild but tasteful fender flares on it because I wanted to get more rubber on the ground. Some beautiful, tasteful side vents cut into the car that are kind of reminiscent of 55 Mercedes 300 SL Gold Wing type of a vibe on those. We had to custom make the hood scoop on it because of the giant Borla induction system we put in the car. There were challenges all over this car. The interior is so European looking now, with all of the wood and all of the leather and everything in it just says vintage European. The color, I chose on the car this very special silver that we did because so many of the vintage European cars just look their best in that wicked silver. Went with the wire wheels on it, again trying to capture that vibe. So this Kellison, in my opinion, is very different than most, and I think it brings out a different style that the Kellison can definitely pull off, and pull it off well, in my opinion. It's not just a muscle car. It's not just a drag car. It's not just a hot rod car. It can be that very expensive looking high-end European exotic. And that's what I wanted to go for with this car. So I hope you guys agree with me on this car, both inside and out. We went crazy. We completely modified the suspension, updated everything on it so it handles beautifully, updated all the brakes so it stops amazingly, you know, modern air conditioning, you know, power everything, windows and air and steering and modern stereo and all that. But everything just looks vintage on the car. I think I had posted somewhere on social media or something when I first purchased the car that I got this thing. And then, like I said, I put it on the shelf. After some period of time, a gentleman contacted us here at Kustoms. I believe his name was Kevin, and he said that was his dad's car, and he was pretty darn sure of it. And his father had passed some time back, but Kevin had said that it really looked like the Kellison that his father had purchased, back in the 60s. And he was so sure of it, he described some items on the car that were very unique to the car. So it became evident to me that this was in fact Kevin's car. He especially one thing that he really talked about was he and his dad, when Kevin was a kid, he and his dad had hand built the grill that was in the car. And I could tell the grill that was in the car was all handmade in somebody's garage. So it was pretty evident that this was Kevin's dad's car. So I really liked that connection. And this gentleman, Kevin, sent us a bunch of photos of the car back in the day when his dad got it. And so it really became neat. So that's why when you saw the episode on History of Counting Cars with the Kellison, when the car was finished, I was going to take it to SEMA, which I did, and the car is mine, which I've kept it, and I'm still keeping it to this day. It's so cool. But I wanted to show it off to somebody before I brought it to SEMA, and I thought this gentleman, Kevin, would be the perfect guy to show it to. So that's why we brought him out to look at it, and it was neat because he had brought up things about how his dad wanted the car to be silver, and originally when his dad did it, he did it in silver. So when I got it, it was red, but it was neat that I took the car back to a silver vibe, which was cool, and Kevin really loved the side vents put in it. He said it was something that his dad wanted to do, but it just didn't have the means to do it back in the day, so I did that as well. It was neat to get Kevin's stamp of approval, and it was really neat to be there with Kevin when he got to see the car again. He hadn't seen the car, for years. And it was cool that he got to see it again, because I really understand that connection of a vehicle and a father and a son. It's an important connection. That's what started everything off for me. So it was neat to be a part of Kevin getting reunited with this car, and we did something cool with it as well. We splashed a mold off the nose of the car because I wasn't going to reuse the grill that was in it. We had splashed a mold off the nose and kind of replicated the mouth of the Kellison, and then we took that grill that he and his father built and put it in there for like a wall piece and gave it to him as a surprise. So I know he's got that at his house now, hanging somewhere. But this was a really special episode to me. There were other cool things going on in the episode, man. The big Boss Hoss bike with a 502 big block Chevy engine on a motorcycle. Come on, it's crazy. And the husband and wife that have that bike, such nice people, such cool people. And that bike just came out gorgeous. We worked really, really diligently on that motorcycle. Boss Hoss had made a lot of V8 bikes, but I think this was like the last big block, 502 V8 big block Boss Hoss. So this was a special bike, and to be able to restore it and make it extremely cool for them, that was a cool piece as well. Going and visiting my friend Mike over at the Classic and Collectible Cars here in Vegas, that's always a good time. Shopping for, I think I was shopping for a vintage Rolls, but Mike had an old Bentley over there. That was pretty darn cool. I got to say, on this particular episode, outside of the Kellison itself, being the car freak that I am, I just absolutely love that car. But I think my favorite part of the episode was hanging out with Kevin, the gentleman, not just my Kevin, but the gentleman whose father owned the car originally. That was a lot of fun. He was such a nice guy, number one, but number two, you could see the connection between Kevin and that car. You could see the connection that car brought Kevin to his father, who is no longer with us. And that's just really important stuff to me. They're not just cars. They've all got stories to tell. If they could talk, man, they'd say some pretty neat things. So that was a really special part of the show for me, because I understand that and I get it. I think one of the biggest challenges on the build was the body mods on the car. I knew the wheels and tires that I wanted, so I got those on the car first, and then we reshaped the fender wells on the cars to make them make sense with the wheels and tires. So that was cool. But one of the biggest challenges was when we added the Borla induction system on it, that injection system. It's so big, it's so cool. It's got such an attitude. It's just awesome. But there was no room under the hood. So Ghetto Bob, man, he really stepped up to the plate and custom made, custom designed, custom built this insane hood scoop. And it's mighty, it's big, it's mighty on that little car. But it serves a purpose. There's a whole lot of engine sticking out of that car without that hood scoop. So that was a pretty good challenge in modifying that hood to where everything would fit under it and tying it into the body lines that taper onto the cowl between the windshield and the hood. Those were some pretty good challenge to make things make sense. That Kellison to me is a really cool car. I'm very proud of that build. We've built a ton of cars here at Count's Kustoms over the years, and most being muscle cars or big classic cars, a lot of Cadillacs, things like that. Love all that kind of stuff. Hot rod trucks, but a 62 Kellison J6 Panther. Not a lot of people have ever built them, and I wanted this one to be completely different. So as you search the websites and look at different Kellisons from back in the day, most of them fall under a particular style. When you check out mine, it's completely different. I hope you guys dig it. I know I do. I think it's wicked cool. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you've enjoyed sitting here hanging out talking with me about the episode and about the cool things that we did on it. I encourage you, if you come to Vegas, come to Count's Kustoms, take the tour, wander around, check out the cars in person. You'll probably see the Kellison here. And subscribe to the Count's Kustoms YouTube channel. Lots of cool stuff constantly coming your way. And you guys rock, man. We will see you next time right here.